Good afternoon, everyone. This is a regular board meeting of the Board of Directors of the East Bay Regional Park District. It's August 4th, 2020, and we're starting at 1 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Yes, President Corbett. Director Lane?
Here.
Director Waspy?
Here.
Director Coffey?
Present.
Director Rosario?
Here.
Director Wieskamp? Director Eccles? I see Director Wieskamp. And Director President Corbett.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. We're all
welcome.
here. I'd like to ask Director Lane to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
You have a screen?
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Director Lane. Today's regular meeting is held in accordance with Governor Newsom's executive order allowing for board members to participate remotely. We're getting pretty good at this. We are also providing a live audio and video streaming and have provided the public the opportunity to submit written comments and also call in for public comments on items on a staff report or to call in and leave a voice message. So public comments can be submitted in several different ways. And I know we repeat this at every meeting, but Madam Clerk, could you please repeat it again in case we have some new individuals who would like to know how to access this public meeting and make comments?
Yes, Madam President. You can, in order to access public comment, you can do it via email by emailing myself, ybarriel@ebparks.org. You can call in and leave a voicemail at 510-544-2016, which gets transcribed and delivered to the board members. And you can also participate during public comment by actually coming into the meeting and letting us know in advance, and then you could submit your comment at that time.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And do we have any questions from board members on today's procedures? See none, we can go ahead to the agenda. Well, let's ask first, do we have any public comments, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Madam President, we do have one public commenter, and his name is Chris Newey. And I am looking for him to come into the meeting.
Shall we approve the agenda prior to his
Oh, there he
speaking?
is.
Yes, okay. So members, you've all had an opportunity to look at today's agenda. Are there any objections or changes, or would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Director Wieskamp and seconded by Director Lane. Please call the roll on the approval of the agenda.
Yes, Madam President. Director Rosario,
Aye.
Director Coffey,
Aye.
Director Waspy,
Aye.
Director Eccles,
Aye.
Director Lane,
Aye.
and President Corbett.
Aye,
Thank you.
unanimous. Thank you all very much. And I do know we have someone to public comment. I see Chris on the line, so please go ahead and prepare so he can speak.
Yes, Chris, you have 3 minutes and you can speak now.
Thank you. My name is Chris Newey, President of ASME Local 2428. President Corbett, Board of Directors. So I come to you today to talk about throughout this pandemic, the district leadership keeps making the statement that Park District employee safety is one of the top priorities. But the district has been continuing to take positions that don't support that statement. Here are some examples. The district encourages employees to get themselves tested for the safety of their coworkers and the general public, but asked employees to do this on their own time. When that isn't possible, they were asked to use the COVID sick leave, and if they had run out of that, their own personal sick leave. If any expenses came out of the testing, it would be expected for the employees to pay for it out of their own pockets. If employee safety was truly a priority, the district would encourage employees and to test on district time for the safety of the district and at the district's expense. In regards to workplace exposure, the union found out when employees were exposed to a coworker who had tested positive for COVID-19, the district advised the employee to follow the recommendations of the employee's personal healthcare provider, not workers' compensation doctor. And if that physician advised the employee to get tested, once again, if there were any expenses, it would come out of the employee's pocket. This is contradictory to other district policies, such as the exposure to bloodborne pathogens and other hazards. At the beginning of the shelter-in-place, district management asked employees to reaffirm their commitment to serving the public by signing a disaster service worker oath, but expects employees to pay out of pocket for expenses if it was related to being exposed to COVID at their work site. Workers' compensation. It took several meetings for the district for the union just to get district management to agree that when employees are exposed at work, that the district would provide the appropriate working compensation form. We still are not completely clear on what the district's policy and practices are on exposures and workers' compensation. For example, the district's protocols for exposures only advises employees to file a workers' compensation claim if they test positive between March 9th or July 5th. There is also district shared vehicles protocol, which the union told the district was problematic at the beginning of the protocol and is only now being reviewed after there has been several work site exposures. Or the widespread use of bleach as a disinfectant, which studies have shown repeated exposures increases the chance of employees developing diseases such as COPD or can cause asthma or asthma inflammation. Cal OSHA has limits on bleach exposure in the air, and we have no clue on the tasks we're doing if they even fall within those exposure limits. District employees have reaffirmed their commitment to serving the public and advancing the district's mission. Please reaffirm your commitment to your employees by directing management to promote safer alternatives to bleach, create protocol that addresses employee safety over efficiency, changes the stance to truly support testing. Employees have been communicating the narrative that you all don't care about them and that they are expendable. Please prove them wrong. Thank you.
Thank you,
very
Mr. Newey.
Thank you very much for your comments, Chris. And I know this board does appreciate our employees and the difficult circumstances and the hard work that they are involved in during this time as we keep our parks open. So I know we've expressed that on many occasions, and I just want to express that again, but we do very much appreciate you coming to us with your concerns, and they certainly will be looked into. So thank you for your comments today. I don't know if the interim GM has anything she'd like to mention or not. Nope.
Oh, thank you, President Corbett.
All
I
right.
think that
Oh, sorry.
we've,
Please.
can you hear me?
Yes.
So we have been doing a lot of work with our union partners through the Labor Task Force, where we have addressed these issues. And we have communicated the position pertaining to workers' compensation, which is very complex. And you rest assured that the Park District is doing everything to support our employees. And if there's concurrence with you and the board, we can certainly ask Kip Walsh to come forward and provide and respond to the references to workers' compensation, if that's comfortable with you.
Board members, this is a public comment portion. Would you like to hear from Kip at this time? Yes, is Kip available? Hello, Kip.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Kip Walsh, Chief Human Resources Officer. Happy to see you all this afternoon. Excuse me, just a quick note about the status of workers' comp. This has been something that the union has brought up a few times, expressing some concern about the way it works. But we have done some footwork in the background to make sure we understand the law and we understand our occupational medical support that we have through Kaiser, et cetera, and have provided that information to the union. But typically we follow our protocols unless and until an employee is diagnosed as positive with COVID, it doesn't constitute an injury. Once an employee is confirmed positive, then we would provide the appropriate information to allow the employee to submit a workers' comp claim. So that's fundamentally how it works. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief of HR. Thank you, Kip. All right. Thank you, everyone. And I know that we'll continue to look into these issues and concerns. We do value our workforce, without a doubt. Thank you, Chris. All right, Madam Clerk, is there anyone else in the waiting room who would like to speak during public comments?
Madam President, I am looking. I have not received anything in advance. So let me just take one more quick look for a name that does not look familiar to me. And I'm not finding anyone. So I'm going to say there are no public comments at this point. If for some reason I've missed someone, please say, and I will take a look at it after the meeting and make sure that the board receives it.
Thank you very much. And I do know there's a question, but just real quick, were there any written comments received for public comments?
Not in advance of the meeting, no.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Director Eccles.
Thank you. And thank you, Kip, for explaining a little bit more about the workers' comp situation. I was also interested to know, or maybe it's possible to look into it if you don't have the information today, but when employees take the pledge to be basically disaster workers, can they be compensated for their testing as well? Because that does seem to be a legitimate concern above and beyond whether it's a workers' comp claim.
Excuse me.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, if I may. So under the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, that act and our policy as it's been adopted provides for that leave time when an employee takes off from work to be tested if they wanted to do that. So there is leave available and that's an employer paid leave. So that's the Park District's policy on how to handle leave in that circumstance.
And the cost of the tests themselves, is that paid for by the Park District or only by the employees?
Actually, by Governor's Gavin Newsom's order, all testing is free. So the employee should not experience any out-of-pocket expenses for obtaining a test. Looks like Elizabeth may be frozen.
Oh, Elizabeth, I think you're frozen. Elizabeth, you're frozen on the screen, so
Yes.
you might. Yeah. Well, hang on just a second while Elizabeth reconnects. Elizabeth, are you back with us?
I can hear you, but okay, wait, I can hear you. Just go ahead. I can hear you now at least, so you can keep.
Okay.
I might not.
Is there anything else you would like to add, Elizabeth? I mean, excuse me, Director Eccles, pardon me.
Not at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Chief Walsh, I would just ask, do we provide information to our workers also about testing sites and where free testing is available? Is that all easily accessible as well?
Yes, that information is all on our SharePoint site where we have information related to COVID.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Director Rosario. You're muted.
Hi, thank you.
There you go.
I just want to point out that our employees should regularly check for updates on our operational handbook on the SharePoint, because a lot of these topics that Chris brought up are being discussed in the task force, and as we get answers to those, the operational handbook gets updated on a regular basis. So I encourage employees to check on the operational handbook on occasion. So sometimes the answers will be there, but the task force is working on a lot of these. So I appreciate that the questions being brought up.
Thank you very much, Director Rosario. And I know that you and Director Waspy serve as the board members on the Labor Management Staff Task Force, COVID Task Force. And I know that you will also be addressing these issues, and as you always do, as they arise. So thank you very much for that. All right. Any other comments, Madam Clerk, or anything from the board before we move to the next item?
No, Madam President, we do not have any other comments, but I would like to say that one of the reasons that I think that the video link is freezing is sometimes we have too many people with their videos on. So what I'd like to ask is that if there's any member of the staff that is interested in actually watching the YouTube link, please feel free to go to that channel if all you're going to be doing is watching, and that's EBRPD, YouTube, EBRPD / Clerk of the Board. So just wanted to let you know that you can still look at the meeting on our YouTube channel. So that's all that I have right now.
Okay, and if they need to reconnect later because they need to speak, they can do that as well.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, thank you all.
You're
Thank you all
welcome.
very much for making sure we don't freeze. Appreciate that. All right, so that appears to be all of the public comments for the beginning of the meeting. And so I'm just checking, as I always do, all of the board members are still on the line as far as I can see. Let me just take a look here. Yes, all the board members are on the line still. So we will go on to our next item, which is item C, our special update on COVID-19 pandemic, which will be presented by the Deputy General Manager, Ana Alvarez, today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Board President Corbett. Good afternoon, board members, esteemed colleagues, and members of the public. Acting General Manager, Dr. Ana Alvarez. I will be providing the General Manager's update on the Park District's emergency response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And General Manager Doyle is taking a well-deserved vacation. He'll be back to work on Monday, August 10th. I am happy to report that the Park District continues to deliver on its mission by keeping regional trails and parks open to the public where appropriate. We are completing 4 months of operation under a state of emergency at a time when we're experiencing a 400% increase in park visitors, while the number of positive cases for COVID-19 continues to escalate in both Alameda County, followed by Contra Costa County. To be clear, the outdoors remains the safest place to be other than home, but only when everyone wears face coverings and maintains 6 feet of distance. Staff is reporting a rise in trail user conflicts. We are seeing unusual frequencies of occurrence and some unusual types of conflicts. And these events may be attributed to the increase of park visitors and the tension or stress that people are experiencing in these uncertain times. Some of the issues we've seen are related to trail use etiquette. As such, our public affairs team will be expanding on our public messaging that will emphasize that parks are essential, along with highlighting guidelines for those reconnecting with the outdoors or for those who may be new to the outdoors, including reminders for the removal of trash and certainly trail use etiquette while adhering to the health orders, feet of distance while hiking. Also, while we continue to experience high visitation rates, we have kept our exposure incidents amongst amongst park staff very low through the implementation of safety protocols. However, we do have 3 confirmed positive cases for COVID-19 from staff working in closed office spaces at Shadow Cliffs Regional Recreation Area. At this time, I would like to take a moment to remind staff and everyone else that safety is everyone's responsibility. All employees are required to wear a face covering when within 6 feet of others and any time inside a facility other when they're working alone in a private office with a closed door. Now more than ever, it is critically important that each one of us do our part to ensure a safe workplace and protect ourselves and each other by following all preventive measures, including wearing the mandatory mask while at work. The occurrence at Shadow Cliffs is a singular event, and we will continue to do everything within our reach to prevent others from happening. As such, the Park District is now instituting new building entry protocols for all employees that, among other things, require staff to take their body temperature before entering any Park District building, including field work sites and maintenance yards. Staff is also currently working on enhancing our vehicle sharing protocols, a body of work that is being done in partnership with the Police Association and ASME Local 2428. Additionally, Human Resources is extending a new mental health resource for staff working in person out in the field through the Frontline Workers Counseling Project, which is comprised of a network of local mental health providers. This is in addition to the Park District's Claremont Employee Assistance Program and the Cigna Work-Life Support Program. And we're encouraging our staff to avail themselves of these important mental health resources during these very difficult times. I want to make it very clear, and I want to make sure that our staff understand that help is only a phone call away. Now, I would like to bring to your attention that in the General Manager's last briefing to the board, General Manager Doyle conveyed the decision to delay further park openings and call off the 2020 swim season due to the rise in COVID-19 infections. We are still actively planning for a time when we will be able to reopen some additional limited services, including boating and camping, and we will certainly keep the board and staff appraised as to that date once the final decision is made. And in the positive budget news, the bipartisan Great Outdoors Act that includes full funding of the Land and Water Conservation Fund was signed by the president this morning, dedicating $900 million from offshore oil and gas drilling each year in perpetuity to conserve our national parks and public lands. This is the first time in its history that the Land and Water Conservation Fund is fully funded, much to the advocacy work of environmental organizations and public land agencies across the nation, including the East Bay Regional Park District. This very important piece of legislation has been at the heart of our government affairs team, and with the leadership of General Managers Robert Doyle and Pat O'Brien for the last 30 years. So certainly it's a very important day today for all of us in conservation. And also, it's important to understand that over the last 55 years of this conservation program, the Park District has received and has benefited from receiving $16 million for various parks and trails, including the soon to be completed Bay Point Public Access and Restoration Project. And in closing, it is important to acknowledge that the House version of the Great Outdoors Act was originally introduced by late civil rights icon, U.S. Representative John Lewis, in honor of whose passing the Park District flags were flown at half-mast last week. And I know this is a lot to take in as part of this report, and I welcome any comments or questions that you may have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy General Manager Ana Alvarez. And we appreciate your work on behalf of all of our employees as well at this time. A lot is going on. And we're continuing to work together to move through this in a healthy way that protects all of our workers and allows us to continue our mission to provide open space and park opportunities and recreation opportunities for all of our individuals in our community. So does anybody have any questions or comments for the Deputy General Manager at this time? Director Rosario.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to reinforce Dr. Alvarez's statement that the exposures at Shadow Cliffs did not occur because of exposure at work or situations at work, but it was brought into the workplace from an employee that wasn't got exposed outside of work. So people need to be aware of maintaining their bubbles, maintaining their safety outside of work as well as within work, because the consequences are they're huge. You're affecting not only yourself but other people's families. So I thank you for that report, and also I'm just so happy that the Great American Outdoors resolution passed. So thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right, well, thank you so much for the update, assuring us that the district is being well managed and we're addressing the many issues that confront us, and that we do have solutions to keep people safe, and that we'll continue to remind people of those. And that we also had some really good news to report with the signing of the LCWF Act. Does that mean we don't have to go back to Washington, D.C. anymore and ask them to enact it? It's permanent now. So that's one less thing on our advocacy checklist. So that was really good news. And thank you for sharing that with us as well. Thank you, Dr. Alvarez. If there's no other questions, we will go to the consent calendar and ask the clerk, are there any items that you have heard that people would like to remove from the consent calendar today?
I have not heard any items that people would like to remove, but I have had a couple of questions and comment.
Okay, so I will, oh, I'm sorry, didn't mean to talk over you. I will ask board members, do you have a list, or should we ask board members if they have any?
I have a list, and then of course, as usual, the board members can chime on if they're not on my list, my predetermined list.
Okay, Madam Clerk, tell us who has comments.
Okay, who followed the rules? Director Rosario.
Yeah,
he always follows the rules.
Were all of your questions answered?
Yes, thank you. All my
yes.
questions are answered. Thank you.
Yes, and the other was Director Lane. She gets a star. Had a comment on item N, but let me back up. Before that, she also had some comments on the minutes, which I have duly noted, and I will make those corrections. And Director Rosario also had a comment on a item on the agenda, just letting him know there was a correction already made. So thank you. So the item that Director Lane had a comment on is referring to item N, which is the authorization to apply to Caltrans for federal funding from the Active Transportation Program, San Francisco Bay Trail, Radke-Martinez Regional Shoreline. Director Lane.
Yeah, I just wanted to say how pleased I am to see we're pursuing this. This is this very important trail from Radke-Martinez Park that leads up to the Nedgerly staging area in our park. We've had a bridge to nowhere sitting there for a little while, and we've had to work through this trail with Union Pacific. So hopefully this will move us along on this important trail, and thank you for that.
It is exciting news. Director Coffey.
Can I ask someone to educate me on the funding source here? It indicates that we go to Caltrans, a state agency, to seek funding under a federal grant program for active transportation. So I'm just curious how that works.
Does anyone have an answer for Director? Hello.
This is Assistant
Hello, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Hi, thank you. Assistant Finance Officer Jeff Rasmussen here. Mini grants actually have a state pass-through, so this arrangement of federal funds coming through Caltrans is not that unusual. In this case, Caltrans is the main representative for Federal Highway Administration funds. Also, lastly, I'll comment that the transportation community is a rather complex, large machine that involves not only Caltrans and Federal Highway Administration, but also MTC and our local congestion management agencies, ACTC and CCTA. So I don't know, does that, and the state CTC, California Transportation Commission as well. Does that answer your question?
So these are purely federal funds that are administered by Caltrans. So we're not looking at some mix or matching state or local funding.
Well, that is a good question. And under active transportation, there are a variety of programs, and it is possible to get state-only funding out of this program. So that will have to be determined once our project, if our project's selected and moves forward. For instance, on the Doolittle Bay Trail project, that was one of our few actually is state-only funding rather than federal funding, whereas the active transportation funding for Pinole Shores to Bayfront Park was federal. And from the district's perspective, state-only funding is much easier to administer. It comes with much less strings to implement, but we won't know that until the final grant selection and funding allocations are made.
Okay, thank you. That covers it.
Thank you very much. We hope that big machine is good to us. All right. Thank you very much. Any other comments on the consent calendar? All right, a motion's in order.
So move.
Was that you, Director Wieskamp?
Yes.
Moved by Director Wieskamp and seconded by Director Rosario. Please call the roll on the consent calendar.
Yes, Madam President. Director Coffey,
Aye.
Director Wasby,
Aye.
Director Eccles,
Aye.
Director Lane,
Aye.
Director Rosario, Director Wieskamp,
Aye.
and President Corbett.
Aye. Unanimous adoption of the consent calendar. Thank you all very much. Our next item on the agenda today is under acquisition, stewardship, and development. The authorization to enter into a purchase and sale agreement to transfer and appropriate funds for the acquisition of 20 plus acres of real property from the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission at the Mission Peak Regional Reserve. And I believe that will be introduced by AGM Kelchner.
Thank you, Director Corbett. Christina Kelchner, AGM of Acquisition, Stewardship, and Development. I am going to turn this over to Mike Reeves to give the presentation, and we are very pleased to be bringing this today. This is a 20-acre in-holding within the Mission Peak Regional Preserve. Importantly, it will provide a water source, a reliable water source for the district's grazing program at Mission Peak, and also preserves the scenic views from the Bay Area Ridge Trail. So I'm happy to bring this forward today and really appreciate the San Francisco PUC's cooperation. They are the owner, and appreciate their cooperation on this deal. So I'll hand it over to Mike Reeves.
Thank you very
Good
much.
afternoon, Mike
Welcome.
Reeves. Good afternoon, Mike Reeves, Chief of Land Acquisition. I'm just going to provide a little context for this current opportunity before I turn the presentation over to our Senior Land Acquisition Specialist, Rachel Lem. This opportunity to acquire the 20 acres stems from a much larger acquisition by our neighboring land management agency, the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, which last year completed the acquisition of the 787-acre Wool Ranch flanking the Calaveras reservoir as a part of a watershed protection measure by SFPUC. This 20 acres was part of that acquisition, but separate from it in terms of not being contiguous. We surround this 20 acres on 3 sides, and so it makes much more sense for the Park District to ultimately acquire and manage the land as an addition to Mission Peak Preserve. But I don't want to steal any more thunder on the presentation from my colleague Rachel Lem, so I will turn the presentation over to her.
Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you. Just a moment here, I'm going to share my presentation. Excuse me a moment. All right, can everyone see that all right?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, good afternoon, President Corbett, members of the Board of Directors, and distinguished guests. I'm Rachel Lem, Senior Real Property Specialist in the Land Acquisition Department. It is my pleasure to present the Wool Ranch Inholding Acquisition Project for your consideration. This 20-acre inholding is surrounded on all sides by protected open space. One moment, I'm going to pull up my laser pointer here. The property is bounded on 3 sides by Mission Peak Regional Preserve and by the City of Fremont's Rancho Higuera open space on the 4th side. The Stanford Avenue entrance to Mission Peak is here to the northwest to help you orient. The parcel is part of the former Wool Ranch, as Mike mentioned. The district acquired 163 acres of the Wool Ranch in 1992 in this area. At the time, the Wool family chose to retain this 20-acre parcel for their own use, but granted the district a right of first refusal in the event of future sale. In 2019, the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission approached the district about releasing that right so that San Francisco could purchase the remaining 787 acres of the Wool Ranch, shown in gray, including this piece. As this parcel is largely surrounded by district land and is not contiguous to the rest of San Francisco's land around Calaveras Reservoir, San Francisco offered to negotiate with the district for the sale of the 20-acre inholding. The parcel rounds out the border of Mission Peak Regional Preserve and is located close to the Bay Area Ridge Trail, shown here in red. As you can see in this aerial, the parcel contains a pond, which the district's vegetation management team has identified as strategic in supporting grazing in this part of Mission Peak. The site is largely level to moderately sloping, with a steep drop off to the west. This provides a vantage point with wonderful views out over the South Bay. The site is primarily grassland, with a small stand of oaks, willows, and buckeye, as well as other wetland species near the pond. These photos were taken in early July, so as you can see, the pond usually retains water year-round. This view is looking southwest. The site is currently grazed, and in the past, the pond has been stocked with largemouth bass. Here's another view of the pond, looking southeast back toward district property, and another view south. A rocky outcropping to the west of the pond provides the best views out over the South Bay and the adjacent Rancho Higuera open space shown in the foreground. Fencing is in largely good condition with several gates between district property and the inholding. The 20-acre inholding is on the right in this view, and the Bay Area Ridge Trail is off to the left, kind of off screen. Acquisition of this property secures a private inholding, provides for potential trail links to a scenic viewpoint, and allows our vegetation management team to access a key water resource. The property was appraised at $500,000. Funding will come from Measure WW. The total project cost, including staff time, initial safety and security improvements, and title and escrow fees, is $534,000. Staff is requesting that the board appropriate $534,000 for this project. Approval of this resolution will authorize the district to enter into a purchase and sale agreement with San Francisco. The agreement anticipates a closing escrow on the property by February of 2021, which allows for multiple board approvals required from San Francisco. Land acquisition staff have already reviewed title, appraisal, and environmental documentation on the site and have not identified any issues. Staff have completed an acquisition evaluation of the property and have identified initial safety and security measures, which are included in the appropriation request. Thank you, and we'll now open for questions.
Thank you very much, Rachel, for that excellent presentation. Picturesque spot, and also Makes a lot of sense for our grazing program. I was wondering if that cow that was in the photo was smiling.
They're happy cows.
Right. Are there any comments or questions from board members for Rachel? Let's see. Scroll over, see if I see anybody. There we go. We're back on. Anybody have any questions for Rachel?
Not really a question, more a comment.
Yes, Director Wieskamp, please.
This is a perfect acquisition that we wanted before, and they chose not to let us have it at that time. So it just makes great sense. And it's always nice when you can get something and finally complete the deal. So this is excellent. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much, Director Wieskamp. Director Rosario.
Yes, thank you. The beautiful piece of property. My question is regarding the pond. Is that a man-made pond? And if it is it spring-fed or is water piped in?
It's a natural spring-fed pond. There's been some reinforcements on the west side to raise the pond level, but it's a natural spring area.
Excellent. Thank
Very
you.
nice. That'll come in handy.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions, anyone for Rachel? All right, we do have a public comment on this item. Madam Clerk, can you please let Kelly Abreu in to comment?
Yes, Madam President. Mr. Abreu,
Hi.
you have 3 minutes, sir.
Hi. So the 800-acre Wool Ranch acquisition within Alameda was within Alameda County. There was this happened a year or two ago. This acquisition of the Wool Ranch, and there was some talk among real estate acquisition people that this was going to be mostly in Contra Costa County. But in point of fact, over 90% of that acquisition was within Alameda County. And we are now seeing part of that being changing hands right here today. Well, not right here, right today, but in the future planned to change hands. The on that map, it shows a Rancho Higuera. Rancho Higuera is on the west side of this parcel, and it seems to be owned by the city of Fremont. And that's a little bit of a concern. You know, it's a giant parcel of land, that Rancho Higuera. And if it's so big, and it seems to be a lot of nice walking trails over there, just south of the Horse Heaven Trail in Mission Peak, one would have to ask, why does it have no public access? And what can we do to get the city of Fremont to provide public access to that Rancho Higuera open space? Also, with this 20-acre parcel, will is there a contract for grazing now? Is there a grazing lease? Will it change hands now that the ownership has changed, or is it going to maintain the same grazing access and same grazing management? Also, another question: are there other parcels in Niles Canyon or in Sunol, in unincorporated Alameda County, that the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission could or should be exchanging with the Park District? Because this Park District, and they own a lot of land, and maybe they shouldn't own some of it. Maybe they should be exchanging some land, more land, with the Park District for various reasons of efficiency or whatever. And then on this approval of this acquisition, notice that we're talking about February 2021. There's actually a timeline that seems to be mentioned here. I would ask, is this timeline, is it mandatory? Is it going to be completed by a date certain? Is it a requirement that this happen within any fixed period of time? Because, the last time, and 4 years ago, the board approved $1.6 million at Mission Peak for a parking lot expansion. There was no date certain. There was no timeline, and that still is out there hanging in the air. There was no requirement that anything actually happened on any fixed milestone, any period of time. And likewise with the liaison meetings with the city at Mission Peak, and throughout the park, throughout the holdings in Fremont, there are supposed to be regularly scheduled liaison meetings with the city that this board needs to oversee and ensure that those liaison meetings actually happen. The last one was about 16 or 17 months ago. This board is responsible for making sure that those liaison meetings happen, or else we need to cancel that and let's just kill that whole committee. Board oversight is needed. to make sure that these things happen as they should be happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Madam Clerk, are there any other public comments on this item?
No, Madam President.
I will ask if the board has any additional comments. Anything you would like to address, Michael or Rachel, before we move on this item?
No, I think that's good.
Thank you very much. All right, well, board members, if there's no other questions or comments, there is a resolution before us to move forward on this purchase, sale, and transfer of funds for the acquisition of the 20+ acres from the PUC at the Mission Peak Regional Reserve. Who would like to make that motion? Moved by Director Wieskamp, seconded by Director Waspy. Please call the roll on this resolution.
Yes, Madam President. Director Waspy.
Aye.
Director Rosario.
Aye.
Director Lane.
Aye.
Director Coffey.
Aye.
Director Eccles.
Aye.
Director Wieskamp.
Aye.
And President Corbett.
Aye. Thank you very much. We'll move forward on that. And once again, thank you for the excellent presentation. All right, our next item on today's agenda, also under Acquisition, Stewardship, and Development, is the authorization to execute a contract with Ghirardelli for construction management services and amend a contract with Gray, Bow, and Scott for to develop the Doolittle Trail project at Martin Luther King Jr. Regional Shoreline. And I believe we'll have an introduction of that item again by AGM Kelchner.
Thank you, Director Corbett. Christina Kelchner, AGM of ASD. And we're very pleased to be bringing you this next phase in the Doolittle Trail project. As you all are aware, this is a project that would complete a connection in the Bay Trail and was championed by our former director, John Sutter, and currently championed by, of course, Director Corbett. So very happy to see this project moving forward. And I just want to give a shout out to staff, DECO staff, who continues to move forward an unprecedented number of projects despite the challenging COVID conditions. So really appreciate their teamwork and hard work on all of this. We are still in the design phase, but we are gearing up for construction. We hope to be able to go out to bid end of this year, early next year, and to start construction in the spring of 2021. And so what we're bringing you today is the next phase that was always part of the plan, which was to bring on a construction management firm and additional services to work with Caltrans. As you all know, this is in the Caltrans right-of-way, so which makes the project complicated. And so these are additional consultant services that help to bring us closer to being ready to go out to bid and for construction. So I'm going to pass it over to our Chief of Design and Construction, Lisa Borgia.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, Director President Corbett and Board of Directors, Lisa Gorgon, Chief of Design and Construction. And so as Christina just previously mentioned, we're really excited with the progress of the Doolittle Trail segment. And as she mentioned, now is the time when we typically bring on construction management firms for a project like this that are really large and complex. And this project has the added complexity or bonus of being in the Caltrans right-of-way. And so it's because of this in particular and the scale that really necessitates bringing on a construction management firm and then also amending our contract with the folks who've been helping us coordinate with Caltrans. So we feel like this is a good time. We mentioned this also at the Capital Projects and Stewardship Workshop, that this is going to be one of the projects that would be coming before you for action. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ren to walk you through the presentation.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Ren.
Thank you, President Corbett, members of the board, their staff members, and members of the public. It's my pleasure to present this project to you. Let me share my screen. Bear with me for 1 minute, please, as I do so. Hopefully you can all see this. Again, as Christina and Lisa have mentioned, we're coming back. This project was just in front of the board in May for the adoption of the mitigated neg deck for secret documentation for our moving forward. The recommendation today and the action before you is to authorize it to execute a contract with Ghirardelli Associates for construction management services and to amend a contract with Grayboe and Scott for the development of this San Francisco Bay Trail gap. I'll give a little synopsis of the project just briefly. Again, this is in Martin Luther King Jr. shoreline. And as you can see here, if you can see my cursor, the project site is along Doolittle Drive. Zooming in a little bit, the red line shows the existing Bay Trail that is currently around. The project we are speaking of today will close this, what is shown in yellow, Bay Trail gap here that goes from Swanway to Langley along Doolittle. In addition, this project will renovate a section of the San Francisco Bay Trail, which is existing in our shoreline park here, as well as renovating a boat launch facility at this end. So here it is in writing. We're going to construct approximately half a mile of new class 1 bikeway, which again is this yellow section. We're going to renovate a quarter of a mile of existing bikeway as shown in the image here on the right. We'll mitigate for approximately 14,000 square feet of bay fill under mean high water because we're going to have to fill in the bay to build the trail along Doolittle. We're going to replace this existing boat ramp and small craft floats, which need to be repaired, and then slurry seal and restripe the existing parking lot, and then plant 40 new native trees. Here's a plan view, and as mentioned already, the reason for this action is that we are within Caltrans right-of-way. This dash red line shows the existing or the boundary of Caltrans right-of-way. So most of our work is here. In addition to that, we will be restriping Doolittle or Highway 61 along here to accommodate the width of the trail. This continues again all the way up to Langley, which is here, at which point we'll renovate the existing Bay Trail, the parking lot, and the boat ramp. So again, the action in front of you is to execute an agreement with Construction Management Service, Ghirardelli, to provide those services. As it has been mentioned, Caltrans, because we're working in Caltrans right-of-way, there are several submittals and processes by which Caltrans is required. Ghirardelli proved to be the most effective and experienced in that. So in terms of our selection process, an RFP was advertised in May. We received 4 proposals by the June 19th deadline. Selection committee of district staff reviewed all the proposals, and Ghirardelli Associates was determined to be the highest ranked and best qualified, again, based on their Caltrans experience. Their scope of work will be a constructability and bidability review of construction documents. So that's why we're coming to you now. We're not quite ready to go to bid. Hopefully, as Lisa mentioned, we'll be doing that at the end of the year. But the first scope will be for them to review that and making sure that there aren't any major gaps in scope. So when we bid it, we get the best bids back from as required. The best bids we can based on public contracting code and accepting low bid. They'll provide pre-construction and bidding support. The meat of the contract will be construction administration and then project closeout. In addition to that, the action before you is requesting to amend an existing contract with Grayboe and Scott. They're a consulting firm that was initially brought onto this project to engage, to help the Park District engage and define a process for the stakeholders that would be involved. As it progressed, if the project became to work in Caltrans right away, and so Grayboe and Scott again was well suited to help with that. And as we've progressed in our working with Grayboe and Scott and Caltrans, the final bits of getting our encroachment permit and other things which were not fully scoped have been determined to be services that will be required. And so we're looking to amend their contract. The photo at right shows Langley. So this is looking south along Doolittle Drive, and this will be where the trail is before it joins into. So we need as much help as we can get dealing with Caltrans. So that's why we're hiring them. Here's our budget. So we have an existing amount of $5 million in the budget. We've spent $2 million to date. This action will require no additional funds at this point. We are looking to, back to Director Coffey's question early on, with this project, we'll have CTC funds, which are funds that are administered by Caltrans and the CTC. So that we will go to get those once we have a bid, and we're hoping to do that at the end of the year, first part of next. So again, budget, we aren't requesting any new funds at this point. Here's our schedule. We hope to have our Caltrans encroachment permit and right-of-way cert from Caltrans in November. We can go out to bid and we'll have complete construction contract documents by the end of December. Go out to bid. At that point, we're hoping to get approval at the CTC meeting in January so that they will allocate our grant funds for construction, and then, as been stated, construct the project in the spring, summer 2021. Here's the recommendation one last time. I will not read it. And that is the end of my presentation. I'm happy to field any questions at this point. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you very much, Ren.
Sure.
Does anybody have any questions for Ren on this item? Let me just scoot this. Oh, there we go. Let's see, Director Lane.
I don't really have a question, just a couple of comments. One is I'm really glad to see this moving forward like that. And I'm glad we're continuing to work with Graybo on the pursuing funds through the transportation agencies, because they have shown that they know how to do that. Then I have a request for the next time you come with an update on this trail. And that is that, you know, as you showed the map at the very start, it was clear that there are a lot of bay trails there, but we still have some gaps. And so I wonder if we could have just a little addition of what the challenges might be in two gaps that were shown either direction from the Doolittle one the next time you come before the board. I think they each have unique issues, and I'd like to be brought up to date on those. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Lane. Any other questions or comments? I have a question, Ren. So I support this and agree with it, and I'm very glad to see it moving forward as well. And but my question is, how much time do you think we have saved by this additional help by the management agency, as opposed to doing it in-house? How much more quickly do you think that allows us to get a project done?
It's hard to speculate on the time frame that we have. I would posit that Graybo and Scott has done a lot in terms of getting us into Caltrans system. I think with them being involved, we've definitely fast-tracked this. So in other words, I would say we've probably saved 3 or 4 months, which has been critical to get CTC funding or to meet our requirements to have the certification for the right-of-way and the encroachment permit. Without their assistance, I don't think we would have made our timeline. I don't think I can give it an exact quantity based on that, but they have definitely facilitated us getting into Caltrans, and their experience in working with Caltrans has opened the door for us to have a better working relationship with them. So it's definitely proven crucial to this project.
Thank you very much. We always like it when projects move along more quickly, as you know. So thank you for that. I did have another question. I think it just went right out of my head. It'll come back to me. So yes, thank you. Glad to see this moving forward. And oh, I know what I was going to say. Caltrans does have a lot of rules. It's a very large organization. But I also just want to express my appreciation for the fact that they did decide to partner with us on this project, so we could move it forward and actually in actually a more economical way than what we had been looking at more previously, and probably for the environment, a better project as well. So we appreciate Caltrans for their partnering with us on that. And as we go along, we'll learn more and more about how Caltrans works, but we do appreciate their work and their assistance on this. And when we have a ribbon cutting, I hope that they'll be there to celebrate with us, whenever that might be. Thank you, Ren. Any other comments, questions? Do we have any public comments on this item, Madam Clerk?
No, Madam President.
Okay, a motion's in order. Moved by Director Rosario, seconded by Director Waspy. All the, please call the roll on the motion.
Yes. Director Waspy. Director Lane.
Aye.
Director Eccles.
Aye.
Director Coffey.
Aye.
Director Rosario.
Aye.
Director Wieskamp.
Aye.
And Director Corbett.
Aye, unanimous.
I think Director Waspy wants to say aye now.
I know.
You unmuted yourself. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, members. Nice project in the fourth ward. Thank you so much. All right. And thank you, staff. And again, it cannot be said too often. We really appreciate the work that's going on in all of our departments. And ASD, thank you for learning all the new ways to do this kind of work virtually and continue to move things forward and putting contracts out and putting people to work as well. So thank you for that. It's all good stuff. We appreciate it. Thank you. All right, and now our next item is board and staff reports and actions taken by other jurisdictions. Deputy General Manager Ana Alvarez.
Thank you, Director Corbett, and thank you for your kind words to staff. ASD is managing a lot and do appreciate all the work that they do. So
Yes.
Deputy General Manager Dr. Ana Alvarez stepping in for General Manager Bob Doyle. Today we will be having a brief conversation pertaining to the Ranch Master Development Plan in the city of Antioch, and particularly focusing on the Sand Creek area. And I would like to ask our Chief of Planning, Brian Holt, to please provide us with a brief presentation on this item.
Thank you very much and welcome, Brian.
Good afternoon, Brian Holt, Chief of Planning, GIS. Are you able to hear me all right?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, so I'm going to just quickly pop up a couple slides just as we go over this. This has been a long-standing project in what's called the Sand Creek Focus Area or the Future Urban Area 1. So you can see Deer Valley Road here to the right. The area, the project site is within red, approximately 550 acres. And then the specific plan area, the broader specific plan area is outlined in blue. That's the Sand Creek Focus Area. And you can see our Roddy Ranch Golf Course just to the south here and Horse Valley. So this project has been proposed probably for 10 years now, has gone through various discussions and iterations. Staff has commented and met with the project proponent in the city a number of times. And this was the action that was just taken by the city council, was approval of the project for 1,177 units. This is the site plan. This is within that red area that was laid out there. So you can see a largely single family residential subdivision, buffers on each side of Sand Creek. And you'll see there is provision of a trail staging area here that could provide access to Empire Mine Road and connect to Black Diamond Mines Regional Preserve and Roddy Ranch in the future. And of principal interest to us was that the development was pushed down from some of the hillsides in the southern part of the planning area that could, to make sure there's a buffer between our parkland and their proposed development area. So just zooming out, just regionally, there's been a lot of different development proposed out here. You can see the green is Park District property, our Roddy Ranch Golf Course, Black Diamond Mines, and the broader Sand Creek Focus Area and the ranch area in here. So that's sort of the regional context there. That's why we're interested, and that's why we're reporting on this action to you. We'll continue to work with the city and the project developer as details come together, and there'll be ongoing conversations about land and future projects in that area for sure. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Brian, Chief of Planning. Any questions or comments, board members? And I Do you have anything?
Nope.
Okay, everybody else? Oh, yes, Director Coffey, please.
Sure, Brian, where are, there's Brian. He hasn't gone away. Would you briefly mention that this progress of the ranch has apparently spawned a use proposal, a residential use proposal by the property owner immediately, what is that, west of Empire Mine Road, known as the Zika property, that there is now apparently on file a residential development proposal for that property.
Yeah, correct. There's been a longstanding interest from the property owner to the west on the other side of Empire Mine Road, who we haven't ever necessarily seen development plans for that property or a formal application. But you may recall it was not last year, the year before, there was an effort to, and approved by the city council to approve a couple ballot measures that rezoned all of the property within the Sand Creek focus area and approved this ranch project. That went through the court system and ultimately didn't prevail. The ranch moved forward separately as a separate project. And then as Director Coffey mentioned, the landowners of the Zika property put in an application for a separate housing project, and citing some recent state housing law that perhaps once you put in an application, there's some question about what the status of that is with regards to vesting the property. More complicated than I know at this point, but that's some of the discussion that's going on.
Thank you, Brian. And that property, the Zika property, is surrounded on 3 sides by Black Diamond Mine parkland, and on the one east side by Empire Mine Road.
So we'll be paying attention.
Yes.
We will absolutely continue to monitor everything in that area.
Yes. Director Lane.
Yes, so could you put that map back up, Brian, and point out where the Empire Road is?
There you go.
Yeah, Empire
Mine Road goes from Deer Valley Road. We own the property to the south of Empire Mine Road.
Yeah.
Travels through here, goes through here, onto the Zika property a bit, onto the ranch property some, and then connects to, I believe this is Dallas Ranch Road in that neighborhood there. Empire Mine Road has been closed to the public for many, many years, and remains closed at this date, although it is not officially permanently closed to the public. So it could be reopened in the future.
Okay, and so with this new development going in, how are they addressing that road? Are they looking at it as a potential trail, or are they wanting to use it as a trail again, or as a road again?
The road is outside of the project development footprint. So you can see the road here. And like I say, it goes on the Zika property a bit and does go onto the ranch property a bit. So this project does not make a formal proposal for use of that road, but you will see they do not provide connections to that road. And it is not part of the circulation network that serves this development. So I think that's, there's some question about perhaps the need to use that road if there were development to go forward on the Zika property. And of course, there has been longstanding interest on the part of the Park District, as well as the city of Antioch, to see that road as a trail. And in fact, I would say today it is functionally used as a trail.
Okay, so is it on is it on our trail master plan? It
is. I do not believe it's on our trail master plan, though I'd have to go back and check to confirm that. We are, of course, engaging in planning process on Roddy Ranch on the golf course, and that will be part of what we'll be looking at for that. I do believe that it's identified as a trail and that there's some policy language about it becoming a trail within the city of Antioch general plan. And I would have to go back and check how the county bicycle and pedestrian master plan, how it speaks to it, but I think there's something in there as well.
Okay, because I'm really interested in, having gone down there with our board field trip. And I know Colin knows all about it, but I would like it to be very clear that if indeed it is the case, that we do want it to be a trail, and that we make that point whenever we do any responses to developments. And if we need to amend any of our planning documents to make that happen, I'd like to see us proceed with that.
Noted. We certainly mention our interest in pedestrian access on Empire Mine Road and our interest in seeing it closed when we have provided comments on any projects in this area. So we'll continue to do so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Lane. Brian, on that map you were just showing, can we go back to it
Yes.
just for a minute?
Yes.
So on this particular map, could you just circle the footprint of that proposed development we were just talking about?
The development, the approved development is here. This is the
Mhm.
ranch project. This is what the action is here.
Yes.
The proposed development is on the other side of this red line is coterminous with Empire Mine Road there.
Okay, so
it would
off
be
that map.
within this area.
It's off that
Like I
map.
say, we've never necessarily seen a plan, but there's sort of a valley area in here.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies it for me. Thank you very much. All right. Any other questions or comments by board members? I believe this is an informational item under actions by other jurisdictions. Thank you, Brian, for keeping track of what's going on and other land use agencies. Anyone else?
That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm sure you will keep us apprised as things move along on that one. All right, if there are no other questions or public comments, we can go on to the next item, which is also under general manager's comments. And we have a special presentation today. Chief Tiley is going to be introducing us to our new Assistant Fire Chief.
Well, yes, thank you, President Corbett, Deputy General Manager, Dr. Ana Alvarez, and Chief Tiley cannot join us today, but we do have AGM of Public Safety, Anthony Shaburo, with us.
We have another chief.
Yes, well, we have the AGM of Public Safety, both police and fire.
Yeah.
And
Big guy.
the big guy. And the COVID-19 pandemic has certainly not stopped a wildfire season. And we still continue to experience employees retiring. So Assistant Fire Chief Brad Gallup has recently retired, and Anthony Shaburo, AGM Shaburo, has done a beautiful job ushering with Eileen Tiley the next generation of our fire professionals, firefighting professionals. So with that brief introduction, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Shaburo.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Madam President, and can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, good afternoon, Madam President, Board of Directors, and esteemed colleagues and community members. Anthony Shaburo speaking, of course, your AGM of Public Safety and your Chief of Police. Famous nature photographer Galen Rowell always talked about times of change and how that was the best time to take pictures in nature, whether it was summer to fall, wet to dry, or night to day. And really in public safety and in the district as a whole, that's how we see ourselves now. We find ourselves at a tremendous time of change. And with that change, we see a confluence of talent coming from the outside. And that change and that confluence of talent really to us resonates as a call to action. And we know that we are doing great work, but we have much more great work to do on our journey from good to great. Chief Matheson's arrival and his presence here, or Assistant Chief, is representative of that. It reflects that. He is a 26-year veteran of CAL FIRE. He has fought fire on the ground and from the air. He started out, of course, as a firefighter and a paramedic. He has tremendous experience in fuels management. Most recently, he managed the Highway 17 Fuels Management Project, which was a tremendous endeavor and also a mandate from the governor. And that was, of course, in the South Bay, we'd say going over the hill from Santa Clara County to Santa Cruz County. And that was a tremendous project. And also it was demonstrative of his experience. So we are thrilled to have Chief Matheson, Assistant Chief Matheson with us. We know that he is ready to join us on this journey to greatness, and we wish him nothing but safety and success. Chief Matheson, Assistant Chief, you have the floor.
Welcome.
Can you hear me? There we are.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite, and thank you for the introduction. I've only been here 2 days, and I already know I made the right choice. So thank you very much. The chief asked me to give you guys a quick synopsis of where we are with our fire, weather, and our fuels for middle of summer. So if you'll allow me to give you about a 3-minute take on how I see it, and drawing from some of the resources that I have from the CAL FIRE side. California over the last, since October of 2019 has been warmer and drier than average. Last rain year being defined as October 1st to October 1st. Central and Northern California has received about half of its annual rainfall since last fall, with the driest areas currently in the northern part of the state. Areas like Lassen, Modoc, and Siskiyou counties, where we have those large devastating fires going on right now. They have about a 66% snowpack, so they are in severe drought to the north end of the state. The drought moving itself south as of June 30th, the Bay Area, including Contra Costa and Alameda County, were listed as being in a moderate drought. And unless we get early rainfall, we don't expect that to get any better until it starts to rain. So what that translates into for us is a large dead grass crop that was fed by some late spring rains and early summer rains in May and June, allowed that crop to grow, and it has now since died off and has created a great, not a great, but a very robust fine fuel bed that would then carry into heavier fuels, our trees and brush species. We rate our brush species 100-hour fuels by live fuel moisture content. And when it gets chamise, what we normally measures the chamise levels, when they get below 60% live fuel moisture in them, that's when they start to burn aggressively and carry. And we don't normally see that level until the end of September or into early October. As of the last week of July, at a cut site on the east side of Mount Diablo, there's a ranch, Clayton Ranch, they were at 58%. So we're already in that critical level. And it's even more important that we continue on with our fuels projects that we've been doing and will continue to do. And with that, I'll hand that over to Fire Captain Simpson for our activity and fuels project update. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Assistant Chief Matheson. We're excited to have you here and look forward to working with you. President Corbett and members of the board, my name is Kent Simpson. I'm a fire captain with the Regional Park District. Just a quick operational and fuels management update. We've been experiencing, it's generally typical to have a high frequency of small fires between June and July. And we've definitely been experiencing that. And there has been an increase between this year and previous years that we have recorded. That being said, we've had about 5 fires last week. And really we've been responding to those and preparing for those this entire year. So our firefighters are trained and ready and able to respond, as well as we've been doing our fuels work ever since and through this entire COVID pandemic. With all of that, we're also, when we get requests for out of county or mutual aid, we're taking those into account and basing our availability for that through our staffing and resource availability. We've had 2 requests earlier in this month for the Gold Fire for a Type 3 fire engine, and as well as a line EMT. the qualifications that our firefighters have are utilized throughout the state, and we get called on for that mutual aid. We were unable to fill those requests just due to our staffing and availability at this time, but we are always looking to take on those requests. For fuels management, we've turned a corner with our GOAT program, and we're starting to complete large portions of areas that we've intended to grace. We're starting to receive invoices, which is great news, especially coinciding with the timing for the fire weather and fire potential increasing. We're currently working on PG&E grants in Claremont Canyon and Sibley Park, as well as our fuels crew working in Redwood Regional Park with the Coastal Conservancy grant. And with that, I'll pass it back to Chief Jabril. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the report.
Madam President, staff is available if you have any questions you'd like us to answer.
Thank you very much. I'll just make a couple quick comments and open it up. Warm welcome. We have to do it like this. Warm welcome to our new Assistant Chief. Your knowledge is quite apparent by your presentation. We're very happy to have someone who knows so much about fuels management on board. It's great to have a paramedic too. And I think we already know we made a good choice too. So thank you so much. We welcome you warmly, if remotely. And also, I'm sorry I didn't catch Firefighter Simpson's rank. I always miss that, but I appreciate your report as well. And it's always great to see people we don't always get to see who are out on the front lines doing the major mitigation work, but also we're so proud of you when you do go off for mutual aid and protecting other parts of the state. So we appreciate what all of you are doing, especially during COVID-19 that throws so many challenges in our faces to do our job. So we appreciate what you're doing, and we're very happy to have all of you too. We have a great team. And with that, I will open it up to any other comments or questions as we welcome our new Assistant Fire Chief.
Welcome.
Yes, Director Rosario, Firefighter Rosario.
No, not anymore.
Yes, previously.
I just wanted to welcome Assistant Chief Mike Matheson. You bring some really good credentials with you, and I just want to let you know that the board of directors here is very proud of our little fire department as well, and we have our own history, proud history as well. And then also to Captain Simpson, I really appreciate you meeting with me and a couple of the neighbors up there off of Marlboro Terrace there, and you're very good. And I appreciate your comments to the public and answering my questions too. So good luck to you. Keep everybody safe, and thank you very much.
Director Waspy.
Thank you. Welcome and congratulations, Chief Matheson. Pleasure having you here. You made a great decision. So I welcome you. And then, as Director Rosario said, you came well qualified. We've heard many great things about you. And I also heard through the rumor mill today that you were formerly a lifeguard. So you're following a great tradition.
He's checking all the boxes. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Director Eccles.
Yeah, I also just wanted to share and welcome you, Assistant Chief Matheson. Obviously the fire issues are really important to all of us at the Park District, and we welcome you and really appreciate all the expertise and knowledge that you're bringing to us to continue to keep both our parks, our park employees, and our neighbors safe. So thank you very much.
Any other comments or questions? All right, a warm welcome to Assistant Chief Matheson. Thank you, Captain Simpson. I'll try not to forget that next time. Thank you. And Chief Chioburo, thank you so much.
President Corbett,
yes.
Director General Manager Alvarez had her hand up.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. She's off my screen. My apologies. Deputy General Manager, Dr. Ana Alvarez.
Thank you, Yolanda. I appreciate that. I just wanted to disclose, for full disclosure, when we interviewed Assistant Fire Chief Matheson, we did not disclose that we have two former firefighters as part of our board of directors. That's not to scare you, but we do have people that are extremely committed to our ongoing management of wildfires here at the district. And welcome again to the district.
That didn't scare you though, huh? All right. Thank you very much. We're happy to have you all, and we'll be seeing you around. Thank you for all of your great work, rolling and punching with all the challenges. We're very, very happy to have you with us and for the work that you do. Appreciate you very much. All right. Thank you. All right. Our next item is announcements from closed session. Do you have any announcements from closed session?
Board President Corbett, we do not have any announcements from closed session. I did want to take a moment and make a brief announcement with respect to the Oakland bulk and oversized terminal case. The board had authorized us to file an amicus brief in support of Oakland's petition for rehearing en banc. Yesterday, we learned that the Ninth Circuit Court denied that petition. So the case appears to be concluded with the opinion from the Ninth Circuit, which ruled against the city of Oakland.
Thank you very much for that report. We're just ups and downs today. Good news, bad news, good news. It's all good. We'll keep moving along. Thank you very much, General Counsel. All right, and thank you for your efforts on that noble effort as well. All right, thank you. All right, our next item is board committee reports. I have nothing further to add with regard to the executive committee meetings. Is there anything further to report from the legislative committee? Chair Waspy? Nope. All right. So now it's time for board comments. Who would like to go first? Anybody ready? Director Waspy, you're the one right next to me in the boxes, so I will start with you. Director Waspy.
Great, thank you very much. On the 22nd, I attended the COVID task force meeting, as well as the 29th. So I attended 2 of those meetings, and we're moving along. Still, there's a new challenge, it seems, every week, and I'm very happy that the union brings up some of the challenges that we face, and the Police Officers Association, and I'm very happy at the response from the management team. So we're plugging along. Things change all the time, but I think we're adapting. We're keeping the parks open, and that was our goal. So we're successful with that. I also attended the Ecology Committee meeting on the 23rd. A number of things came up at that, including our efforts to reduce the use of glyphosate in the parks. I think the number that was put out was that we've got 82% reduction since 2016. Very proud of staff for doing that. Also, if you haven't, I think it came out, I think every board member got it, the publication that of our Integrated Pest Management Annual Report. Great document, suitable for framing and suitable for giving to constituents that, as I know, some of us have always had constituents really telling us we really need to get rid of herbicides in the Park District. And this is a pretty good guide to show how successful we've been at that. And I'm told that they're available. Any board member. I know I'm going to give them.
Director Waspy, you're going to have to get closer. We can barely hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. So
thank you.
Anyway, that annual report is a great document. I hope everybody gets a copy of that and shares it with their communities. On the 24th, I attended the Multicultural Awareness or Advisory Committee meeting. Great committee, great group. Lots of great ideas came out of what we're doing and what people are doing in their communities during this time of COVID. On the 27th, I went over to Mid-Peninsula Open Space and did a hike over there. It was really interesting and a great time. And that's all I did. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you very much, Director Waspy. Director Eccles.
There we go. Just trying to get myself unmuted here. Well, thanks very much. So a number of things have been going on. I've been doing a lot of meetings with various constituents and constituent groups. The issue of fire comes up constantly. So very happy to once again welcome our new Assistant Fire Chief. I think we'll be in good hands. Also, I think the public knows already that we are beginning the process of starting the search process, not the search process, but beginning the process to look for a new general manager. And so what we're starting with is talking about what we're looking for in a new general manager. And so I had my meeting with our facilitator this last week, and look forward to that process, going over an opportunity to talk with all of us about, you know, really what are the important attributes that we see. Also been doing a lot of hiking with my daughter. We were out at McLaughlin East Shore recently, as well as in Tilden, and just really enjoying these beautiful summer days out in. And it's great to see so many people in the parks, and just want to really encourage people, as our Assistant General Manager had said, Deputy General Manager Ana Alvarez said earlier, to wear your masks, be considerate of others. Even my daughter, my 6-year-old, was very concerned about people who were not wearing masks. So please be safe out there, and enjoy the summer.
Thank you very much, Director Eccles. Director Coffey.
Yeah, I too met with the board's recruitment profiling, I guess we are referring to, for the recruitment of a new general manager last week. And I found that to be a very productive session, and learned a lot about what we're intending to get out of that consultation. On the 23rd, I attended the Ecology Committee, also recommend the IPM annual report, as Director Waspy promoted. On the 28th, I attended a couple hours of the City of Pittsburgh's Planning Commission review of the proposed Faria development, which, as the board knows, is the residential development up in the Pittsburgh Hills that abuts our future Concord Hills Regional Park. That meeting went on for 5 hours. I couldn't quite hang in there that long, but it was an interesting session attended by the developer, Mr. Sino, and just lots of interesting things went back and forth during that session. That's it about for formal attendance at events or meetings. I took the opportunity this weekend to go out to Lone Tree Point, our small park out in Rodeo, where we just broke ground. Our contractor just broke ground on the extension of the San Francisco Bay Trail between the northern end of the city of Hercules all the way through to Lone Tree in Rodeo. So that was quite exciting to survey the grounds and see the work going, at least starting. They're creating the staging for the construction, and we're told that is projected for completion in February of next year, and there are people just chomping at the bits to extend that trail and hike it and bike it between Hercules and Rodeo. Well, that covers it for me, President, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Director Coffey. Director Rosario.
All right, thank you. Let's see. On the 22nd and then again on the 29th, I attended the COVID task force meeting. Both very productive. and we're continuing to look at the issues that were brought up by 2428 early on. And then on the 24th, I attended the Multicultural Advisory Committee along with Director Waspy. I just wanted to give kudos to the Korean community media there. They raised almost $400,000 to feed the homeless and seniors in the community throughout the East Bay. That's quite phenomenal. And then on the 28th, I met with Bird Ives, and that was a very, very productive meeting. And I look forward to continuing our process to select a new general manager. And then I've been busy too, meeting with constituents. Had the pleasure of meeting neighbors at Park Ridge staging area. And they all have a request, which I told them I would follow up on. I'd like to meet with the supervisor at Anthony Chabot soon regarding, they love the goats up there, but one of the things they're concerned about is after the goats leave, it's all gets taken over by foxtails. So one of the neighbors there is Alan Harper. He's converted his backyard to all native grasses, and I says we can do that too. So I'll be talking with the supervisor there is, I know his name, Miracle. And then also met with neighbors at Waterloo staging area at Redwood, and kudos to them. They've been, since all the trash cans have been removed, they've been picking up all the leftover doggy bags on the trail and depositing them in their own home garbage cans. So they had a request to relook at that, and I definitely will talk with the supervisor at Redwood about that. It's unfortunate that people don't get that pack it in, pack it out. Also includes your dog's dog waste as well. And then I also met with, as I alluded earlier, with Captain Simpson, met with the neighbors at Marlborough Terrace. They were concerned about some of the pruning and brush removal there. And Captain Simpson did very well in addressing their concerns. And I think we've come up with a plan for the future there and how to deal with the brush. And then I also met with the POA Executive Board, and their concern was they know we're going to be reviewing the public safety's policies in the very near future, and they wanted to be part of that. And I assured them that it's going to be a public meeting, and then they would definitely be allowed to be there. And then also, I think that's it. I think I forgot. I'm sure I'm leaving something out, but if it comes back to me, I'll bring it up. But I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Rosario. Director Lane?
All right, thank you. I also had a good conversation with Mr. Ives having to do with what I'd like to see in the next general manager, and did set up a welcome for Assemblywoman Bauer Cahan for her walk and talk that she's having at Las Trampas. And I'm trying to get out and hiking more. So I'm going to Briones. I went to the Buckeye and the Alhambra staging areas, Diablo Foothills a couple of times, and Castle Ridge at least once. And I believe I'm directing people to Castle Ridge because I'm starting to get reports from them about at least 2 that made it all the way up to the top. You have to start early in the morning to do that, but it is a beautiful new trail. And the other thing that they've been telling me is whether there's any parking problems or not. You know, our concerns always as you set up parking. And so far, they haven't found parking issues at all, which I'm really happy about. I just did want to comment that I'm pleased the Oakland Zoo is opening again. It's such an important facility in the East Bay, and Park District Funds has helped support that over the years. And with the process of their closing, I thought that was would be a really serious loss to all of us in the East Bay. Even if we don't have small children, there's so many cool things that go on there, and now with the new California section. So I'm happy to see that open. Then very pleased about Land and Water Conservation being signed after so many years. That it's quite a wonderful step forward for that. And I know if the board is interested, that we do have a nice list of what projects have been funded or partially funded by that fund over the years. And we've always been very good about applying for those and having some success. Of course, for me, it's August, and with my history hat, I'm doing a number of things about the Women's Suffrage Centennial, which will take place August 26th. And that is one that I keep noticing in older history books. People seem to skip, but I hope from now on people will not. You know, it doubled the number of people who could vote in America, and it was a huge reform movement. So it's something that probably when people are writing books, they need to remember what the women achieved in getting that vote. I don't wear my sash all the time, but the last week around this real centennial, I plan to walk around and see what responses I get with my very own sash. Then finally, I noticed in our news clips, we indicated we put in a Times article on the Sierra Club and its criticisms of John Muir. And, you know, I'm having real problems with people cherry picking different opinions of people from a different era and going off on tangents. And I just hope that everybody took the opportunity to read the last part of that article, in which they talked, Loretta Ross, who was a professor at Smith, said that it was really important for every generation to be aware of the kinds of situations that our people in history actually were living, and not to rush to judgment on what statues should come down or what names should be removed, because so many of these people seem to be human beings just like the rest of us. And not everybody is perfect as far as I can see. So I thought that her comments with regard to Muir were excellent to review and applied to so many other of the efforts and opinions that people are expressing today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Lane. Director Wieskamp.
Hear, hear, Beverly. I think there's been a lot of rush to judgment without being thoughtful about it. And I haven't met, I'm sorry, any perfect person yet at any part of career. I was very happy to participate in a virtual walk and talk with our Assemblywoman Bauer Calhoun at Pleasanton Ridge. And I appreciate her efforts to get out there and give people everywhere a chance to learn about parks throughout the district. I think it encourages people to go to some different parks. And these days, some of them that are less overrun, it's good to do that. I'd like to thank Lisa Gorgon for calling me and talking about the projects at Coyote Hills, You know how much I like to hear about Coyote Hills and all the things that are going on. And also the pavilion at Shadow Cliffs. And we've agreed she's going to call me every month and give me an update on those projects. And so I thank you in advance. I talked to Mark Pearson, who I think is really excited about retiring, but he wants some things done before he retires. And he mentioned that the 2 last bridges on Dry Creek Trail should go in this month for you people who want to go hit those trails. And that the greenhouse should be done in mid-September. And there's one person he did not name who is actually numbering all the hundreds of pieces so that it can go together with no mistakes. And I think most of you knew my former Park Advisory Committee member, now a planning commissioner in Fremont, Ben Yee. He was asked by a Fremont Rotary to make a presentation on one of our favorite parks, Mission Peak. Well, you know, he's a neighbor. He has been a volunteer there. And so he had a lot of information. But if you know Ben Yee, he didn't do more than that. He went out and got the past history before it was a park. So he actually had over 60 people attend this virtual presentation on Mission Peak. And what was most interesting to them was the peaker pole and the fact that the parts of it where the tubes kept disappearing and they wanted to replace them. And he said, nope, they just come down again. So he said they wanted to pay for something that would bring attention to the purpose of going up there and all the different special places you could see if you knew the right direction to look. And so I'd like us to think about something up there that would be good for the people who are going up there, not just to climb the peaker pole, but to go and look for San Francisco, to look for Sacramento, and have it easily available to them. And I think we can do it, and I gather Rotary would love to pay for it. So I hope we'll continue to work on that. Thanks, that's it.
Thank you very much, Director Wieskamp. I attended the EOC on the 22nd of July. I also represented the board at the Regional Parks Foundation meeting. We have a lot of great volunteers who are looking out for us there and doing a wonderful job, and also dealing with the COVID challenges that impact the way our foundation is able to operate. And I just want to do a great shout out for the foundation and whatever board members can do to encourage people to continue to renew their memberships, and even new people who may be interested in becoming members of the foundation. I think we should all do our best to get the word out so we can help support the foundation during these also challenging times for them as well. Let's see, what's my next thing? I had an opportunity to meet with Jim O'Connor on the phone virtually the other day to discuss some of the issues that have been being brought to my attention by constituents in the Crown Beach Crab Cove area. And I want to thank Jim for looking at the issues that they have raised with regard to, you know, potentially more trash cans to be put out, and working on removing trash removal. We have so many people visiting the beach. We're hearing about that. And I also want to thank him for listening about an idea that I had already mentioned, I think at the last meeting, where a constituent thought we could do messaging at restaurants and fast food restaurants to remind people to pack in and pack out if they pick up their takeout orders and then go eat them at the beach. And so maybe there might be some synergy for messaging along those lines. And let's see, I attended the EOC on the 29th. And I think there might be one more meeting in there that I'm missing, but I do know we had a meeting canceled last week as well. And just a couple things I would like to bring forward. Thank you, Director Lane, for bringing up the Oakland Zoo. They are such a fabulous resource for all of us, not only to teach people about conservation and the wildlife that shares this world with us, but they do a lot of work on rehabilitation as well of animals. They've done a lot of groundbreaking work with condors, etc. They're really an amazing resource. A lot of people really don't know how much they do, and they really do need our support right now. They've reopened. They are having some financial challenges, and that's another good place. If anybody would like to become a member of the Oakland Zoo, I think it's a good time to spread that word as well, because they are having a hard time and we want to make sure they continue to be successful. And I'm glad the Park District's able to support them through the passage of Measure FF and CC. Before that, also want to just a quick shout out based on the things that I heard today from board members. Thank you again for our public relations team, our messaging team, who supports us in all of the digital efforts there are, these platforms we've moved to get the word out and to promote our parks. They're doing extra work in that area, and we appreciate them for that. And then the last thing I would close with is with regard to my attendance at the EOC. I again want to thank the board for making that possible, that we have a board member who is able to listen in as the briefing reports are given on a weekly basis. And, you know, we've been in the midst of this COVID emergency for a number of months, but if you sort of stop and you look back and you think about all of the work that is being done, all of the individuals who report out at the EOC are really essential members of our team, and they are really going, you know, they're really working hard and going the extra mile right now to do everything that needs to be done, along with developing the protocols for safety for employees and making sure that the equipment is purchased and in stock and is available looking into the future. But there's so many extra efforts, meetings they're attending, reporting out with regard to, you know, how severe the spikes are with COVID-19 and things that we can as an organization be doing to continue to drive that spike back down. But we have a lot of really dedicated folks that that support the efforts of the EOC. So I just want to thank all of you, and under the leadership of Chief Chiraburo and Deputy General Manager Ana Alvarez. They're really doing a stupendous job. I wanted to let you all know that. I know you already know that, but I just wanted to bring attention to it again. So thank you all very much. If there are no other comments, questions, oh, Director Rosario remembered something else he did, I bet. He has his hand up. Are you saying goodbye, or do you want to say something?
No, I'd like, I remember what it was. Just looking from our last meeting, I just wanted to take into account that we are losing a lot of good employees to retirement. The retirement continues, and I just wanted to we don't have the opportunity to say goodbye to them at retirement parties. So I just wanted to read some of the names of the people that most recently retired and close in their honor, because we have no other way to express our gratitude.
No extra cake.
Yeah, yeah. Where's all that cake? So I'd like to start with Britt Thorsness, Park Supervisor, Point Pinole; Steve Hathcox, Park Craft Specialist from Camp Arroyo; Aaron O'Neill, Police Sergeant, Public Safety; Jose Jesus Gonzalez from Black Diamond, Park Ranger 1; William De Leon Granados, Public Safety Sergeant from Public Safety; Edward Nunes, Heavy Equipment Operator; and Victor Reyes, Park Supervisor at Col Canyon; Anna Fong from Risk Department; Brad Gallup from the Fire Department, and also Jeff Crowell, Park Supervisor at Roberts. That is a lot of years involved there, and I think we can all agree that we thank them for their incredible years of service.
Thank you, Dee. That was very touching. We are East Bay Regional Park District, and we appreciate their legacy. And we wish them well as they go off to retirement. And we thank them for their dedication to the district. And with that, if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Great to see you all. See you soon, I hope. Thank you.